This week on Hand of the Week, a huge hand between Vanessa Selbst and Doc Sands in a really big spot.
Right, we're at the PCA 100K Super High Roller, and we're 2 from the bubble, and things are gonna get crazy.
Sands has a ridiculous chip lead. Scott Seaver is the shortest stack.
Well, we've come to this hand 6 minutes late, and Doc Sands is still tanked under the gun.
Looks like he's raising. Sure enough, he makes it 64,000 to play. He has ace-deuce offsuit. Vanessa Selbst has 7-5 suited.
This would be an awfully light call, so I think typically if Vanessa's playing this hand, she's 3-betting it.
No, she's calling.
String calling.
Seaver folds the button. Gruesome in the small blind will also pass. Antonio gives up the big blind. We're off to the flop. And it's Jack 4 deuce with 2 clubs.
Pretty good flop for Doc. Pairs his kicker, has the backdoor flush draw, got the wheel draw.
He continues for 84,000.
Now Vanessa's gonna go for the raise when she's missed completely.
Interesting. 233,000 total.
Presumably because she just called last time before the flop with a huge hand. Hey Miranda, this is what it looks like when your fiance punts. Doc is going nowhere.
He calls the raise.
So Vanessa's making a pretty good raise here, I think. This flop, as Jonathan says many times on the podcast, hits her range a lot better than it hits Doc Sands' range. And if she's going to continue, she's going to need to be aggressive to win the pot.
Yeah, I love this raise. We're 2 away from the money in a super high roller. This slams her. Doc really can't continue with much here. Maybe ace-jack, maybe an overpair, maybe some other like smaller pairs like pocket eights he could decide to hero with. Turns out he's heroing with bottom pair, so I guess there's that. But he's not going to have a pair very often.
No, he's not. So let's talk a little bit about the elephant in the room here.
Okay, let's talk about it.
All right, so precursor. We love Joe Stapleton. He's
Yeah.
a great commentator. He does a great job. He's very funny, and he's usually pretty accurate.
Yeah, he's the best.
Yeah, he's the best in the poker world.
He's the best around.
The best around. All right. Anyway, so he says this is a great flop for Doc Sands. Let's talk a little bit about that. It's
Yeah.
not a great flop for Doc
That
Sands.
is a straight up lie, Joe
He
Stapleton.
has bottom pair, which is not a very good hand. He has the backdoor nut flush draw and a backdoor wheel draw that is often going to not be any good if he gets there anyway.
The quotes are actually, this is a, quote, pretty good flop for Doc. And also, after Vanessa raises, he says, and I got it right here, Doc is going nowhere.
I think Doc folds a lot of the time here.
Me too, especially if it's not Vanessa. Like, it's not like this is such a big time flop. Yeah, he's got 2 back doors. Those are worth 4% each in terms of equity. He gets there. That's at 1 out of 25 times. And besides that, what do we got here? What are we talking about?
Right.
Come on.
So let's talk about Doc's actual call, though. I mean, Stapleton says Doc's going nowhere, probably because he knew Doc was going nowhere. He's seen the video before. But this is a great call because he's putting Vanessa on a polarized range already. Like, Vanessa's got at worst ace-jack in her value range. Other than that, it's a set or a combo draw.
Yeah, and even ace-jack is like maybe, but maybe not. Everything else is, like you said, set or combo draw.
And he has the nut blocker. He removes all ace-high flush draws from Vanessa's range because Sands has the ace of clubs, which I think will play large throughout the hand.
Possibly. If he doesn't have the ace of clubs, he probably does fold here because of that nut blocker.
Right.
And with 659,000 in the middle, we're off to the turn, which is the queen of clubs. Sands now with the nut flush draw to go with his pair, albeit bottom pair.
Such a good card for Doc, and subsequently a terrible one for Vanessa to continue her bluff.
Sands has checked to her.
Oh boy, it's 4th and 25, and Vanessa is bringing in the kicker.
She bets 347,000 with absolutely nothing.
Now, don't get me wrong, this is a heck of a stone bluff. Unfortunately, Doc's got a hand that just always has massive equity against Vanessa's range. A lot of the time, she's going to be monkeying around, and worst case scenario, he's never drawing dead.
He calls the bet. The pot is now over 1.35 million. Vanessa is the effective stack. She has 1.1 million behind.
Even though Joe Stapleton says this is a great card for Doc, this is actually a great card for Vanessa to continue her bluff.
Right. We said on the flop, and I truly believe this, that a lot of her value range includes flush draws, which are combo draws, and also the nut flush draw, which she can't have because Doc has the ace of clubs, but Vanessa doesn't know that. So this is a great card for her to rep. which, is a problem because it does improve Doc's equity, of course. Stapleton's right about that. But he also says that he has massive equity against all of Vanessa's range now, which is completely untrue. If Vanessa has a flush already, Doc has 7 outs.
Yeah.
So he's got about 14% equity.
Yeah,
in that spot.
maybe 15, 16% tops. It's bad. Also, she has a set. He doesn't have very many outs there either. I mean, it's just not a great spot. He's got very little equity against her actual value range. He has massive equity against her bluffing range.
Right.
That's really different than her range.
Yeah, I agree. So this is a card that Vanessa has to continue her bluff on. I mean, she doesn't have to. She can always wave the white flag. I always like saying, especially on the podcast, that it's okay to give up sometimes.
Yeah.
But the way this hand has been set up, with the way the board has run out so far, the way Vanessa's played it, it's the right play to continue here.
I agree.
She's going to have to empty the clip on the river, and even that might not work. Did I say might not work? I meant definitely won't work.
Yes, she's paired her 5, but it's the 5 of clubs. The stone cold nuts for Doc Sands, and he checks it.
She can empty the clip all she wants. She is firing blanks. Better just throw down your guns and come out with your hands up.
I'm all in.
Call. She bluff shoves the river.
You're good.
Snap. The nuts are good.
Just nothing. Nice hand. Yeah, ace jack with ace clubs.
Vanessa Selbst is out.
As a poker viewer, you can look at this as a punt if you really want to, but I really don't think it's a punt. I think this is incredibly unlucky for Vanessa the way this ran out, and it's a great bluff. Look at just one element of this thing, which is her sizing throughout. She set up a perfect river shove size, and this is a really hard card for Doc to have anything that he feels comfortable calling with.
I mean, if Doc doesn't hit a club on the river and make the nuts, he's going to fold if she ships it, right? So he's not calling with bottom pair. I just don't believe that when she has all the flushes in her range. I think he's just going to have to give up. This is a great play. 2 off the bubble and a super high roller. It just doesn't work because Doc goes runner for the nuts.
Right, and to be fair to Doc, he did play the river well by checking. That, if you want to listen to more of a breakdown of the river, check out our podcast at Hand of the Week on iTunes. But for sure, checking is the right play because he captures all of the equity from all of the bluffs in Vanessa's range. And he's usually not going to be getting called by her minimal value hands if he moves in or bets large on the river.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess there's a chance Doc is going to hero her if the board runs out differently. He did call the raise on the flop. But that said, I mean, it just gets tougher and tougher, and the pot gets humongous. I think he calls the flop hoping she's going to shut down, and that is not what happens. He just picks up equity and then rivers the nuts.
Right, and this hand, along with another hand against Phil Ivey, pretty much propels Doc to second place in this tournament. Wow, what a huge bluff. If you guys have any thoughts on it, comment below.
You can also find our website down there, links to our Twitter feed, everything else, and don't forget to subscribe.
Right, and if you want to see another hand with Vanessa Selbst, check out Vanessa Selbst against Dan Shack by clicking here.